We're holding on Yud Zayin, Amud Aleph, Minayin Lahavi Yod Shleisha. You see that? It's 17a. It's about 9 lines from the bottom. Is that correct, Reb Naftali? Okay, I thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. We're learning. Beis Hamikdash immediately. And the refer claim of Avram David Ben Sarah, Kedali gets all the aspects of Torah from my father, and then Mary Madel, Ben Sarah. Okay. It's cold in Florida today. Is this it's cold? Is it scanning? Is it, It's kind of it's more cold, huh?
I guarantee is the coldest of today. There'll be summer.
Okay. We mentioned in the Mishnah that a small Sanhedrin Katana, is 23 judges. How do we get the number 23? So we said that the congregation will judge, the congregation will vindicate, will acquit. So that each Ada is 20, is 10. Each Ada is 10. So the two Adas equals 20. So we said, okay, that's 20. How do you get 23? So the Gemara asks now, how do you know that you get 23? How do you get where do you get the other three from? So we said, well, we have to add another 2 in order to make the person guilty, because we need a majority of 2 to condemn someone in a capital punishment. You only need a majority of 1 to acquit, but you need a majority of 2. So okay, so that would be 22. And it's, oh well, it can't have an equal core, it has to be an odd number, so we made it 23. That's what the Mishnah said. Now the Gemara says, 1 second. Saif. The end of all of this, L'ra al pishnayim le'mishkachasla. You're still not going to have a majority with the number 2, because either you'll have 11 that are vindicating, and you have 12 that are condemning. Akati chadhu, but that's only a majority of 1. Because 12 over 12 to 11 is just a majority of 1. Then plus or maybe you want to say that you have 10 that are vindicating, and you have 13 that will be condemning. So then you have a majority of 3. You said you needed a majority of 2. You'll never have a majority of 2 if you have an odd number. With an odd number, you're not going to have.
So why not add just 1? Either 1 or 2.
So why not just add 1 to make it? Well, because we said that we have an Ada that's vindicating. We have an Ada that's condemning. So now I need to have a majority of 2 over that. So you have to 22, but then you can't have. Then we're stuck because you can't have an even number. So we added 1 more, but then that messes up the majority of 2. Whenever you turn it odd, you either have a majority of 1 or 3. Okay, so the Gemara and then right. Yeah, basically, when you have a majority of 2, basically you're saying that it's an even number, right? And then we need an odd the best needs to be an odd number. So.
I think, yeah, the biggest.
So, Gemara answers, Amar Bavo. Bavo says, if you want this to work out, the only way it's going to work out is if we have to add more judges, because one of them abstains from saying his opinion. He says, I don't know what the answer is. So then we're going to add. And when we add another 2. So when we add another 2, right, we dropped off 1. We had 23. Dropped off 1. We had another 2. Now, it was even before. It was 11 and 11. One of them didn't know what his opinion. Now we add another 2. It's possible to have those 2 will be condemning. Basically, what he means is that by Mesifin, we're going to end up with an even number. When we have to add, we end up with an even number because one person abstains from saying his opinion. And that would follow everyone's opinion. However, and by the way, this would work perfectly for the Sanhedrin Gedola, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that says you don't have 71 judges, you only have 70. So he's ready to have an even number. So according to him, you have no problem. But that's only Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. According to the sages, it's only going to work when you have to add. Because then when you add, then you can end up with an even number because you don't count the one that dropped out.
The whole thing is so it won't be even, but it can never be even. Anyways, saying that 2 and 1 will condemn the split. Like, it looks like it never plays out.
We can always have an even, if the best in would be even, we can have exactly the even amount, or we can have two more, or you can have as many more as could be to 1. You know, you could have whatever the ratio is. But here we're saying we needed 10. The way the psukim set it up is I needed 10 to be able to say this, 10 to be able to say that, and then I need to have 2 more to be able to condemn.
Let's say it was 7, and they go 35 and 35.
Right.
So
Right.
Who cares? But it's 7.
Right. But let's
Because
say,
you still need
but
21.
I have no source that I need 35 and 35.
No, I'm not saying.
No, so therefore it could be 33 and 37, right? And then so it's fine. Why by the Besdin of 23 are we saying that you need 10 and then another 10? Why don't you just say, that it's I don't know, 15 and 8 or so, Well, no, it says no, because the Psukim told me that I need 10 of this and 10 of that. I only in the Besdin of the 70, I don't have a pasuk that says I need 35. So that's why okay. Avamar Rabavo says it turns out that when we're adding judges, we end up with an even court, an even number, right? Because one person abstained. The Gemara says Pshita, of course, that's what we're saying, that you have that one person abstained. So yeah, instead of 22, now you have 24. So Ma'od the time, I could have thought like the following. You had 2. When Mesifin, you had 2. Yeah. I could have thought that the person that says, I don't know, he's still counted. And if he changes his mind, or he wants to say something, we would still listen to him. Kamash Milan comes to tell us, command the lesser dummy is not there. And we don't listen to him anymore. It's a little tough. We don't. He says, I need to think about this, and then we say, okay, you're out. I guess he's not saying I need to think about this. I think he's saying that I see both sides and I don't know which way to go. So, okay, that's your opinion. So then we. Right. It is capital punishment in a Sanhedrin of 23. No, it doesn't have to be 100%.
No,
it has to be two more. Oh, he has to be 100%. Yeah. He has to be convinced. Amar of Kana. Kana, this is a famous Gemara. A famous Gemara that no one really understands well. Amar of Kana Sanhedrin Shiro Kulan Lechayva Paitrunaisai. Kana says that if everyone in the Sanhedrin says that he is guilty, then okay, we set him free.
Oh,
It's like tsaras. If it spreads over the whole body, then he's tar. Right? That's what it sounds like. Oh, or maybe.
No, because it's not.
Yeah. Yonatan is explaining because it's a setup. Well, the Gemara says, my time, what's the reason for this? Even the Gemiri, halanas din, lameveles fusa, vahani sulei chazalei. Since there's a halacha that you never pass the verdict on the same day that they do the judgment. They never, on the same day that they do the investigation and the all of that. They have to wait. They have to wait overnight to give the verdict. And the reason for that is because overnight they're going to be thinking like, what did the other one say? Well, he said this. Let me think that over. Why he said this and I said no. They think it over. Maybe it's going to come to. But over here, when they're going to bed that night, the judges, and they're going to think over it. There was no one that said anything that would vindicate this person.
There's something about thinking at night that gives more clarity.
I don't know if it's at night or thinking in the next morning, but it's letting it sit overnight. Yeah. So since there's no point of halanastin, and since there's a rule that you need to have halanastin, you have to let it stay overnight, and so therefore they just drop it. I think the Hasidic interpretation of this is that every yid has to have a schus, and if you can't see it, then you're obviously not judging properly. That's yeah. Right. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Ein meishivin b'Sanhedrin Ella." The only people that are allowed to be in the Sanhedrin is Balei Kaima, people that are tall. Balei Chachma, people that are wise. Balei Mara, they have to have a good appearance. Balei Zikna, they have to be older. I think that's what it means. Balei Kshafim, they have to know magic.
See, Rashi, there's a censorship.
You have a censored Rashi? Yeah. What does Rashi say?
It's supposed to be
I have it as which.
no, right.
I don't have it.
Show you at the bottom, nun. If you see Kigon Mitzrim, look at the Rashi.
I have Kigan Mitzvah, that's it.
Right, there's no nun next to it.
No. I have an old Gemara.
Does this say it?
It says
I have witchcraft.
It's
Yeah.
37.
and it says it was changed. Not Zinzor.
You don't have it. You don't have it, yeah.
No.
But the Koran must have it
No,
because
it's-
but the Koran doesn't have Rashi.
It says Rav Gaon and the Rambam say that the judges of the
Let me
Sanhedrin
see
distinguish
the Hebrew
between
side of the
actual
Torah.
sorcery and-
No, but it's not saying that's
The
not
Hebrew
saying-
side.
Look at the Hebrew side.
No, they're saying.
No, they don't have it here either.
They don't know it.
They don't have it here either. Which
But mine goes even further.
thank you.
Thank you. Shalom.
Then look on to the right of that.
Unbelievable.
Dr. Ruin, guys.
In this Gemara that they're using, the Ois V'Hadar edition, in Rashi, I don't have it in my Rashi, but Rashi says Balik Shafim. Rashi says to kill magicians, that people that trust in their magic, that they'll be saved from the Bezdin, and to uncover the magic and all these things, the people that do these things with magic. For example, the Egyptians. That's what the Rashi says. And then on the side it says, as this note, for example, Yeshu HaNaitzri.
Whoa.
And I said that's what's censored.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta be
I never doubted you. I never
Wow.
heard my voice in there.
Small.
Never heard my voice against you.
So That's
So tomorrow also
Rashi
have it.
also?
You just have
We don't have.
during the Middle Ages.
My version of
The, sometimes.
Very interesting. No, we censored it so that we could get it printed. It was this was self-censored, or else the cousins.
They had these.
Okay. So they have to know magic. V'yedim b'ayin lashon, they have to. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Game face on.
They have to know the 70 languages. So that the Sanhedrin should not need an interpreter when it's judging. The Sanhedrin themselves should be able to understand all the languages.
Nowadays, that would be.
No, there's a lot of languages, yeah. But
Well,
there's
Facebook
there's combiners, and then there's people that
I know,
separate them.
regular.
I know some people would say that those are all. And some people say they're not languages, right? So it depends how you want to count the languages. So Amar Aviv Amara, like we would say, is it Ebonics? Is that English?
Yeah.
Do you put all the dialects under the same one? You know? Amar Aviv probably. I mean, all you need to know is be able to understand the language. You have to know that nuance, you know, what the right in that language, that's what it means. He'd be walking. What exactly does that mean in Ebonics?
No idea what you guys are talking.
Amar Aviv Amarav. Aviv says name Rav. Ein meshim Sanhedrin mishi yedei l'tar es hasheretz min ha'Torah. You can only put in the Sanhedrin people that would be able to purify with logic a sheretz, one of the tamei creatures. Now, even though the Torah says not, but you have to be that intelligent to be able to come up with the logic to say that it's still tar. Amar Rav says, Ani yadan v'tareno, I can do it. Some Gemara say Ravina. It says like this: Ma nacha shememis umar betuma tar. When it comes to a snake, it kills. It increases impurity in the world because when it kills, there's more corpses, and then there's more impurity. But nevertheless, the snake itself is tar. So sheretz, the sheretz that doesn't kill, sheina memis umar betuma, it does not increase impurity in the world. Ein din tar, for sure it should be tar. If a snake is tar, and a snake is what. So for sure, kal v'chaimer, the sheretz should be tar. So that's he says, see, I've just purified the sheretz from the tar. Says the Gemara says v'loihi. It's not a good logic. Midihavi akaitz ba'alma, because it's no different than a thorn. Thorn can also kill someone, you know, if it's poked in the wrong place. No one's ever thought that maybe a thorn should be tamei. So basically, what you just did is you compared a snake to a thorn. So a snake is tamei, a thorn is tamei. A snake is tar, a thorn is tar, but a sheretz has a different halacha. Okay. Maybe he would say the opposite. Maybe Rav would say that okay, let's make thorns tamei. Okay, I'm gonna view them Rav. I'm sorry. Kol ir she'im b'shnayim l'daber v'echad l'shmaya ein meshivim b'Sanhedrin. Ein meshivim b'Sanhedrin. A city that doesn't have two people that speak the I guess for the Sanhedrin, two people that speak the 70 languages, and two people that speak, and one person that understands the 70 languages. That you can't have a Sanhedrin. Why do you need two people? Because you would need one person to understand what this guy's saying, you know, the vindicator,
right.
And one person to understand the other one, and at least the one that's going to be condemned, at least the witnesses or whatever. So you need at least one. You need at least two, and then you need another person that can understand, because needs to be able to decide between those other two, right?
I just thought that one is sort of translated one language, you need someone else to verify.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Then we have to.
We do believe our judges,
But at the end, you have
unlike
three.
today.
Two that speak it at home. So then you have to-
And then you have three. And you have three. One of them may be Mechayvin, one of them may be Mizakin, and then the third one will decide which one to go. I guess why do they have to speak? Because they have to converse with him. And the third one doesn't have to converse, the third one just has to decide. In the city of Beitar, there were three people. The Yavna, there were four. Yavna Arba. There were four people. Who are those four people? Those were Rabbi Eliezer, which is Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes, Rabbi Yeshua, which is Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania. Those are two students of Yechon ben Zakkai, the two of the five. Remember, the five students in Pirkei Avos. Rabbi Akiva, and Shimon Atimani, Dan Lifneim Bekarka. And Shimon Atimani, who wasn't a rabbi, but he was a student and he understood the languages, he would sit on the ground in front of them, which meant he didn't sit on the bench because he wasn't part, but he was, nevertheless, he was the fourth one that knew the languages. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. It says Shlishis is Chachma. If you have three judges that can speak, that's considered a wise court. And Reviya Saint Lamaila Manor, if you have four that can speak the 70 language, there's nothing higher than that. So it sounds like you need three people that can speak. We said you only need two people that need to speak. My answer is well, we're following a different opinion. This is Rabbi Yehuda Marav that's talking. The Tanya says in the Brisa, Shniya is Chachma. Two that can speak, that's already a wise one. Shlishis, if there's three, Ein Lamaila Meno. Okay, there's nothing greater than that if there's three. So this Brisa lowers the standard down by one judge. Whenever it says Lameidin Lefnei Chachamim, that they learned in front of the sages, or they taught in front of the sages, that was talking about Levi, who was in front of Rebbe. Levi mi Rebbe. That's what that expression means. So in other words, what the Gemara is doing here, it's telling me expressions that you're going to find in Shas. Who is it referring to? So this Lamed Lefnei Chacham is referring to Levi. Done in Lefnei Chacham, they judged in front of the sages. That's referring to Shimon ben Azai, Shimon ben Zaima, Hanana Mitzri, Hanania ben Chachinai. Those four sages. None of them say rabbi beforehand because they were done in Lefnei Chachamim. They were in front of the sages, but they weren't the sages themselves. They weren't old enough to get smicha. So they're wise, but they weren't old enough to get the smicha. So I don't know how old they have to be, but whatever it says, is they were still, when we quote them, we're going to say, done in Lefnei Chachamim, da 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 da. It was like judged in front of the sages, the following. And it's referring to one of these four. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masni. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak has another version. Yeah, because here it's talking about them, so it's giving us more detail. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, he taught that there's five, and they are Shimon, which would be Shimon ben Asai, Shimon, which would be Shimon ben Zaima, Shimon, and that would be Shimon ben, who's the other Shimon? Shimon Atimani, which is the one we mentioned before, right? And then Hanan, which we said was Hanan HaMitzri, and Hanania, which is Hanania ben Chachinai, which is who we mentioned before. So he has five. Rabbi Seinu Sheba Babel, when we say the sages, the rabbis of Babylonia, who we're referring to? Rav and Shmuel. It's an easy one. Rabbi Seinu Sheba Eretz Yisrael, the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael, who's that referring to? Rababa. It's referring to Rababa. On the side, I have Rabacha. Okay, so that makes complications. Dayane Gaila, when we say the judges of the exile, that's referring to Karna. Karna was one of the sages, and do you remember what happened?
Elsewhere, doesn't the Gemara say Karna and Shmuel?
That's the Rashbam tells us that it's Karna and Shmuel in Baba Basra. The Rashbam Baba Basra does that several times, so therefore they believe that the Rashbam's girsa here was Karna v'Shmuel. And that's why he keeps saying that in Bava Basra. Dayani Eretz Yisrael, who are the judges of Eretz Yisrael? Whenever it says the judges of Eretz Yisrael said, it's referring to Rabami and Rabasi. It's considered a important Besdin of Rabami and Rabasi. Dayani de Pumpadisa, who would that be? Rav Papa Bar Shmuel. All right. Is that the Rav Papa that we know? We had a Rav Papa Bar Shmuel. Is that the famous Rav Papa? Is that his full name?
Brewer of beer.
Did brew beer. Dayani de Nardai. You gotta look that up for us. Dayani de Nardai, the judges of Nardai. Who is that? That's Rav Ada Bar Minyumi. Okay. Sabi de Surah, the elders of Surah. Who's that? That's Rav Huna Rav Chizda. Sabi de Pumpadisa, the elders of Pumpadisa. That's Rav Yehuda Rav Eina. Okay. Charifi de Pumpadisa, the sharp people of Pumpadisa. That's Efa Ba'avimi B'nei Rachba. These are the sons of Rachba by the name of Efa and Avimi. Amirai, one of them married, I think, Abaya's wife, Chaima. One of them was the first wife. She was married 3 times. Right? Amirai de Pumpadisa. Who is that? That's Rabban Rabbi Yosef. Amirai de Nardai. The sages of Nardai. That's Rav Chama. Okay, that's Rav Chama. Nahar Balai Masnu. Narbalai taught that, who was it? It was Rami Bar Baribi. Okay. Amri Bey Rav, when it says in the Gemara that it was said in the yeshiva of Rav, who's that referring to? Who's saying that? That's Rav Huna. Gemara asks the question, Rav Huna Amri Bey Rav, how could you say that? We have statements that Rav Huna said that it says in the yeshiva of Rav, and if that's Rav Huna himself, what do you say? Rav Huna says that. Rav Huna says? How does that work? Elo Rav Hamnuna. Rather, it must be that that's Rav Hamnuna, not Rav Huna. That's the way Rashi learns. Rav Taisvus learns. Rather, when Rav Huna said that it says in the yeshiva of Rav, it wasn't Rav Huna that was saying, it was Rav Hamnuna. But still, Amri Bey Rav is still Rav Huna. See, there's 2 ways of learning this. No? Either the Amri Bey Rav is Rav Huna, or either the one that said Amri Bey Rav is Rav Hamnuna in Rav Huna. Right? You can take that 2 ways. Okay, Amri b'Marava. Whenever the Gemara says Amri b'Marava, that's referring to Rabbi Yirmiyah. It was said in the West. The West means Israel.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. Bless you.
Yeah.
Get some cookies.
You found the Rav Papa?
So was this Rav Papa? Usually,
There were several
Rav
different
Papa
things.
just says Rav Papa.
I don't know.
So Papa Bar Shmuel is a student of Rav Chizda. Tell me something else about him. And Rav Sheshes, okay. Oh, that's it. Oh, so interesting. That can't be the Rav Papa that the popular. The popular Rav Papa is going to have like a whole
No, the whole thing,
Wikipedia
so
article.
notes on it. It
Okay.
had a couple
Usually
pages.
comes up.
Yeah. Shalchum Misam. They sent from
It's one
there.
page.
That's referring to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Okay. Machkol Marava from there means from Eretz Yisrael. Machkol Marava in Eretz Yisrael, they laughed on this. Who would it mean that they laughed? Who was the they? That's referring to Rabbi Lazar. That's Rabbi Lazar ben Pedas. Gemara says 1 second. Vashalchem Yisam the Divrei Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. How could you say that when they sent from there, it's referring to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina? But we have a Gemara that says that they sent from there that according to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. How could he say according Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina sent that according to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina? So Ela Eifach, you have to turn that around. Shalchem is Rabbi Elazar, and Rabbi Elazar sent that according to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. It doesn't work. Machkol of Marava, and they laughed in it in the West. That's referring to Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Okay. You have a list. Reb Naftali made a chart of this once, right? Did you make a chart on this?
Of course he did.
I seem to remember one time they had a chart.
He also has spare time.
Like the sign isn't even on. Okay. Next Gemara. The Kami Be'ir, Behirul Sanhedrin Me'av Esther. How many are in the city? And how many people in the city would warrant a Sanhedrin there? So we said 120. It says Me'av Esther Ma'av Editaya. How do you get the number 120? So it says Esther Mishleishik Negan Sanhedrin Ketana. Okay, we're talking about a Sanhedrin Ketana here. 23 judge, not the 70, because it's a regular city. So it would be 23 judges. Okay, then I need 3 rows in front of them of also 23. So it's 23 plus 23 plus 23 plus 23 of the Sanhedrin. What's 23 times 4? Well, we have to subtract. We have to subtract 8, right, from 100. So it'd be 92.
92.
I was gonna say that.
That's right. 92 is correct. Okay, so it's 92. Harei Tishim V'tarti, that's 92. Then you need a Sarah Batlanim Shal Beis HaKnesses. You need 10 idle people in the shul. They're called idle because they don't work, but they study Torah. So Harei Meya, which are Meir V'Shrei, that would be 102. 102. Shnei Seifrim, you need 2 scribes to write what's happening in the court. Shnei Chazanim, you need 2 people that would be in charge of what do they call it, like bailiff, or someone from the court that would carry out whatever needs to be done. Shnei Zaimei, I'm sorry, I skipped the line. Shnei Balei Dinim, you need 2 litigants. Shnei Eidim, 2 witnesses. Shnei Zaimim, 2 other witnesses that say, how could you say that you were with us? And then you need 2 other witnesses to give us that halacha when they say, how could you say, because you were with us? Okay, that leads us to Harei Meya Va'ar Beisar, 114. We're almost at 120. That's what we're looking for. So Vitanya was starting a brisa kol year Shem Basar Dvar Malalo Ein Talmid Chacham Rashai Lad B'Seicha. Any city that doesn't have the following 10 things, you shouldn't live there. To see before you move to some new community, to make sure that they have these right, some new communities in Tampa and whatever. So you want to go move there? So let's see. First, you need Besdin Makin Vainshin. You need a Besdin that's ready to give punishments. Kuba Shel Tzedakah, number 1, right? You need a police force. Okay. Kuba Shel Tzedakah Nigves B'Shnayim U'Mischalekas B'Shleisha. You need a Gemach. And the Gemach requires 2 people to do the collecting. No one should pocket the money. And then 3 people to do the distributing, because it has to be judged. It has to be judged if they're really deserving and who's gets okay. Beis HaKnesses, you need a shul. Beis HaMerchatz, you need a mikveh, bathhouse. Beis HaKisei, you need a bathroom, right? Reifei, a doctor. Now the doctor means a mayal. An uman is a bloodletter. A lavlar is a scribe.
Blood letter.
Yes.
You have a doctor. Is there a doctor in the house? And the tabach is a butcher. If that's supposed to be in here, it's in parentheses by me. Malamed tinaikus in a teacher. Okay. What happens now is what the Gemara is telling me is that I need 5 people for the tzedakah, 2 to collect, 3 to distribute, and I need another doctor, a mayal, a doctor, a scribe, possibly a butcher, and a teacher. So I need another 4. Now, what the Gemara is thinking is that those trades could all be in one person. It's a raya that the teacher needs to have another 3 or possibly 4 jobs to support himself. The other guys are all fine. You know, those 92 judges that sit over there.
They're doing well.
They get paid by the, I don't know.
Paid by the hour.
Okay. Mishum Rabbi Kiva Amro, and they said in the name of Rabbi Kiva Afmini Peira, you also need fruits in the city. You hear this? Jackfruits. Because the different types of fruits, they open your eyes. The Talmud Chacham used to have the eyes need to be
Wide
bright.
open.
I like that.
Yeah, let me circle this.
No microwave.
That's it. Definitely Taylor. That's good start for next week. Okay. Reb Nechemia says, Tanya, Reb Nechemia said that you needed not 120, you needed 230. And it's explained that would be corresponding to the leaders of 10. That Yisri told Moshe, you need leaders of 10, leaders of 50, leaders of 100, leaders of 1,000, leaders of 10,000. So 230 would be 23 judges that would be leaders of the 10. So Tanya was taught in a brisa. Rebbe says, Masayim b'shivim b'shiva. You need 277. We're getting a lot of new numbers for our passwords. So you need some of these passwords. So 277. But Tanya, 1 second. Rebbe says, Masayim b'shivim b'shmaina. You need 278. Not 277, 278. Gemara says, like Kasha, that's not a problem. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan. Okay, we didn't explain why you need another 47 of, you need 230. 230 plus 47 would be 277, right? And then, or plus 48. Now the explanation is like this, because what could happen is that if the Beis Din divides up into 11 and 11 citizens, then you have to add more judges. And you continue to add judges. If it keeps getting divided, you have to add more judges. And you keep, right? So now instead of 11, 11, it's 12 and 12, and then 13, and you keep adding. You only add until that Beis Din of 23 turns into a Beis Din of 70. Then you stop adding. So what's the difference between 23 and 70? It's 47. So that's why they're adding on over here. Reb Nechemia says you need 230 people. And Rebbe says, no, you need 277 people, because he's counting that possibility of adding on to the court another 47 people to get to the verdict if it keeps dividing. Now, but we have a brisa that says 278. It says, yeah, because there's another opinion that says you stop at not 70, but you stop at 71, because there's a machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda and the sages, and the Chachamim, if it's 70 people in the court or 71 people in the Sanhedrin. Okay. Tan Rabbanan was taught in a brisa. V'samta aleim sari alafim, sari meyas, sari chamishim, sari asaris. Okay. This is Yisri telling Moshe how many judges you should place over the people. So sari alafim, if you had 600,000 people, so officers of thousands, you would have 600 people there. Okay. Sari meyas, officers of hundreds, you would have sheishes alafim, you would have 6,000, right? Not just 600, but 6,000. Sari chamishim, officers of 50, you would have shnei masar alaf, you would have 12,000, right? Now, sari asaris, officers of 10, you would have sheishes riboy, you would have 60,000. Nimto, what comes out is Dayani Yisrael, the judges of Israel were Shivas Riboy, 70,000, Shmeinas Alafim, 78,000, V'sheish Meis. That comes to 78,600. 78,600. There you got your next password.
This is based off
78600.
this is based off the population size.
786, right? This is a Florida phone number. Sorry?
This is based off the population.
Yeah, of 600,000. Places has a question over here. The 1 second. that once you got your first number, then it's not the numbers in 600,000. Now you have to do based on what's left, like the way it works with Meiser. You take out, it's not, if you have 100 and you took the Truma and they only have 99, whatever, 98, Meiser off that comes differently. So, but anyway, that's his discussion. Hajjan Lach, the Dine Mamanis, that means we'll return to you, Neder, this first chapter of Dine Mamanis persuasion.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say that the comment that you added from the Koran about Rashi saying Gam Yushu Hanotzi, that's in the Chesronos Hashas. That's at the back of my Gemara.
Oh,
But
really?
I have another version of Chesronos Hashas that doesn't have it.
Uh-huh.
I
Where
think
is
maybe
the Shas? Is it
in mine, it's in the second counting of the pages on page 100 or 101. It says Alpi Dikduke Sofrim.
okay? I'm missing that.
Yeah,
I
they
don't-
made a big deal that that's one of the additions to this Shas when it came out. It's just,
I remember that.
Yes, he says he remembers that.
it makes me think maybe I should send a letter to Eliezer Broad and ask him about the different versions of Chesronos Hashas.
Yeah, I don't have it. Maybe they threw it in the
What
back
page?
of
What did
mine.
you say? 100?
Yeah, it's not going to be in yours because you have a brand new print. You have the old red. You have the Goldman Shas, I think, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. I don't have it.
I don't need
You can't get everything. If you get this version, you don't have that. If you have this,
Right.
Is it in the
I don't
description?
it should be.
It's just interesting to me that there are different versions of it.
Right.
I wonder what the history is of that.
Project, that's your project today. Figure it out.
Getting that's good.
I'm sure there were different people that collected from manuscripts.
Yeah.
Okay, the next parak goes like this. In this Mishnah, we're going to have two halachas. One is the Kohen Gadol, and one is the king, and it's going to be contrasted. What we can do for a Kohen Gadol regarding judgment and different things, and what we do for a king regarding judgment. But it starts off with the Kohen Gadol. It says Kohen Gadol dan v'dan, and I say Kohen Gadol could be a judge, and we can also be judged. Me'id u'me'idin, I say, he can testify, and he can also be testified against. Kohen Gadol. Chalitz, he can do chalitza. Chalitza would mean that if his brother passed away, and he doesn't want to marry his brother's wife, which he wouldn't be allowed to anyway. But if he doesn't, we'll see. There's like some interesting complication in that. But so he can do chalitza, and also if he dies, his brother would do chalitza on his wife. Yeah. Well, no, because it's a widow. But he's a Kohen Gadol. A Kohen Gadol is wasn't supposed to marry a widow either.
But it's
Like a regular Kohen can.
It's considered as if it's.
Yeah, she's considered, well, after the chalitza is done, she's considered divorced. So another Kohen wouldn't be able to marry her. But before the chalitza is done, a Kohen is allowed to do chalitza. A Kohen is allowed to get divorced. Right? We don't say that, oh, you're a Kohen, you're stuck. No. He can do yivam on his wife. Yeah, if he passes away, not only can he do chalitza, but his brother can marry the Mrs. Kohen Gadol is now Mrs. Regular Kohen. Avalhu einam, but he would not allow to do yibam because he wouldn't be allowed to do yibam because his yibam would mean that she was married to the brother and now she's a widow. Let's say a family a relative of his dies in a yitzhak hamita. He does not go to the funeral. What that means is that he goes. He could follow the funeral, but he doesn't go with the group. So when they turn up the Kohen Gadol, when they turn a corner, he's able to go into that block. When they turn the next corner, he goes to. So when they're concealed, he's revealed. Right.
So
It's a long
nowadays,
road.
It's a long road. He's gonna have to wait for them to turn somewhere.
nowadays, like if you have the hearse car and all the other cars like following behind it.
He's the one that's behind. That's
behind
always.
the vehicle.
Did I lose the group? Yeah.
But he has a tag, so
Yeah.
they can put that hazard. Tag.
The 7 relatives. Yeah, that's a regular kind. This is a kind gadol. No, the relatives are. Remember, father, mother, sister, brother, son, daughter, wife. Father, mother, sister, brother, son, daughter, wife. So, Pesach Shari Ir. He goes until the gates of the city, on the way to the cemetery, and then he stops. Div Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, he does not leave the temple. Mishum Shenamar Min HaMikdash LeYetze. Says he doesn't leave the temple. Rabbi Yehuda, it's a mamash pasuk. We're going to see how Reb Meir learns when we get to the Gemara. When he's consoling others, so derech kol ha'am ivrim.
This is when the Beis Hamikdash was still having this discussion.
Yeah. Well, Reb Meir wasn't around by the Beis Hamikdash.
But they're only talking about graduation on that.
Yeah, they would be talking about they were even the second Beis Hamikdash.
Just take a look.
Oh, what happened? Oh, did they? Did he not? Well, that would be a machlekes. This kind gadol would say, "I passed him like Reb Meir." That kind gadol would say, "I passed him like Reb Yehuda." Kimli. That's how I hold. You see on Shabbos, everyone. I hold like this, Rabbi, as they're opening their soda can. No, I hold like this. Can you open this for me? I hold like that other Rabbi. Yeah. Well, Reb Meir is it. Well, a lot of times we have machlekes in the it's no. He's saying what he understood from. Okay. When he's consoling others, derech kol ha'am from bezeh acher zeh v'amunah mematzai beinei lebein. The people, they walk in a single file, and the Kohen Gadol is standing between him and the other people. Actually, mematzai means that he's standing on the other side of him and the people. So he's making him sandwiched, right? That's what it sounds like. And when others are consoling him, everyone says to him, Anu kaparasecha. We are your atonement. In other words, whatever should have happened to you should happen to us. And he says to them, you should be blessed from heaven. Get a blessing from the Kohen Gadol. When they would give him that first meal, the first meal, the mourner doesn't prepare himself, it's prepared by others. Everyone is sitting on the ground to eat it, but he doesn't sit on the ground, he sits on the stool. Now we go to the next category. Things going to be different. He does not judge. A little surprise. I always thought David HaMelech was judging. We'll have to see in the Gemara what's going on. And he can't be judged. Doesn't get taken to court. Not like American presidents.
That's only
Okay. He doesn't testify, and you can't testify against him. He doesn't testify, and no one testifies. Well, he's not judged. Don't testify against him. He doesn't do chalitza. His brother passed away. There's no chalitza done to his wife. What's she going to be? I guess she's going to be stuck. She can never get married. He doesn't do yibam to his brother's wife. And if he passed away, his brother doesn't do yibam on his wife. Rabbi Yehuda says, if he wants to do chalitza or to do yibam, then that's very nice. They said back to Rabbi Yehuda, the opposite. We don't allow him to. You can't marry the widow of a king. That's it. Rabbi Yehuda says, another king is allowed to marry the widow of the previous king. Find by David, he married the widow of Shaul. I'll give the house of your master and the wives of your master on your chest. Means that he was going to marry them, marry Shaul's wife.
Aren't we about to get to a story about Shlomi remarrying?
Yeah. But that's coming up on. Well, what's his name is Yana is coming up on your test. Yeah.
So she was the wife of the king, right? Yeah.
The sister of
Shimon ben Shattuck.
Shatta.
But she was the king's wife when she remarried, right? When she was the king's widow.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's wait for it. We'll get. The Gemara will discuss. Kain Gadol. No, yeah, we're after the Gemara. Kain Gadol done. Sorry. Kain Gadol done. Kain Gadol is able to judge. Pshita. What's the problem? Of course he can. Well, the Gemara says, done in Isai, it's Shichalei. The fact that we can judge him, that's what we needed. This is Hanamik Pshita. That's obvious also. If we can't judge him, then how could he be a judge? So we have a pasuk. It's a popular Gemara. It says you should adorn and adorn others and adorn, which means first you adorn yourself before you adorn others. How do they translate kshayt? Did they translate as adorn?
Correct yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're saying correct. And by you it says adorn?
Yeah.
By you it says correct?
Yeah.
Kshayt can mean truth. So there, but you're in the translate as truth. But yeah, by Raisa kshayt, Yoy kshayt, all of that means emes.
Yeah.
But by you it's iskashit means to put on adornments. So it's getting two different translations here in the different. Anyway, whatever the case is, it's either a parable or it's direct. If it's a parable, it means, first put on your own mask, your own oxygen thing before the other. So, which means that you first you have to correct yourself before you can correct others. But that's a parable. First, you put on your own jewelry before you put on. What you have by yours is that correct yourself. It's not a parable. It's just a clear, direct. First, correct yourself. So they're dropping the parable. Okay. Ella. Okay, so obviously, if a king if a Kohen Gadol can judge, he also has to we have to be able to judge him. He has to correct himself before he corrects others. Rather, you're right. There is no chiddush in this. Of course, a Kohen Gadol could be a judge and can also be judged. But because we wanted to say that a king cannot judge and cannot be judged, so then we put this in as to make it comparable, symmetrical. On this side it's like this, on this side it's like that. Just the opposite. To show the contrast. If you want, we can give you another pshat. Hakamashman is coming to teach me a chiddush. The Tanya was taught in a brayso. Kohen Gadol shaharagas a nefesh b'mezid nerag. If a Kohen Gadol kills someone on purpose, so
Shaul.
they had the shayftim during the days of the shayftim, and then what we understood was that the king was sitting in judgment.
But over here,
but here we're saying no. The Gemara is going to discuss that. So if a king kills on purpose, so he gets killed. Who? Yeah, but that was because he made a judgment on that. Sent him to battle, and this. It wasn't he that killed him. He sent him to be, and he got killed. Right? He went to the front lines. Let's say the king himself actually killed someone. In Rome, that was typical.
Yeah.
They killed kings, kings killed, whatever. B'shaygeg, but if he by mistake, then goyla, then he gets exiled. Va'iver ala say, this is talking about a kohen gadol, though, not a king, right? We're dealing with the kohen gadol here. B'shaygeg is goyla. Va'iver ala say v'aleisa say. If he violates he neglects a positive command or a negative command, he's just like a regular person, and he's judged like in a 3-person court. This is talking about the kohen gadol. We'll see. I'm reading it like the way the Gemara is going to explain it afterwards, even though I probably should read it in the way that the Gemara is going to ask on it. Like, what do you mean? We'll see. Gemara says, "B'mezid nerag." If he kills, of course he gets killed. Pshita. That's obvious. Gemara says, "B'shagi goylet tzrichle." The fact that he goes to exile, that's the unintentional. That's where the chiddush is. Anami pshita. Why? That's also obvious. Says, no, that's not so obvious. It's true. It's necessary to say that because they could have thought the following: that the person kills by accident. He has to stay in the Ari Miklat as long as the kohen gadol is alive. When the kohen gadol dies, he goes free. What do you do if the kohen gadol is the one that killed? And now he ends up going to Galus. Someone that is able to go free, he can go to Galus. If he can't go free, then he shouldn't go to Galus. Maybe that's what we should say. The Tanan, Mishnah, someone kills a kohen gadol, or a kohen gadol shaharag, or a kohen gadol that kills as a nefesh, he kills someone, and he would never go free. So maybe I could think that we shouldn't be judging him in such a case. He shouldn't be judged because he can't go free. Kamash Malana comes to tell me that no, we do judge him, and he does go to exile, and he actually doesn't go free. He stays there till the kohen gadol dies, and then he can go, which is he's dead, right? But that he doesn't go free by some other kohen gadol dying, right? Kamash Malana, okay. Maybe that's Taka the Pshat. Maybe he shouldn't go to exile. He is the kohen gadol, and he is in exile. If they replace him with another kohen gadol, the kohen gadol.
Someone was exiled before.
Okay.
And then he has a status as a kohen gadol.
Yeah. So the other person would go free when this kohen gadol dies, but this kohen gadol doesn't go free until he dies.
We never go through.
Right? So he never goes free.
No, he's stuck in there. But I thought there was like a rotation. I was like 54.
Yeah, that has to do with there was 24 groups of kohenim, but the kohen gadol was the same. They didn't switch the kohen gadol. Kohen gadol was the kohen gadol, and the groups of kohenim would go in to serve. It was like a cleaning crew, like that's not that. But the person in charge, he didn't have that comparison. Kohen gadol to kohenim to cleaning crew, but I'm just saying like they would come every week.
That would come they would be the ones to like work in the basement.
Yeah, the kohenim would be working in the basement. Kohen gadol was the prestige. Amar, so Emachinami, maybe actually we shouldn't exile him. Amar Kral, Lana Shama Kol Reitzaya, all murderers, all unintentional murders run to the Bari Mikdash. Filo Kohen Gadol Mashma, and says the word Kol, coming to include even a Kohen Gadol. Okay. Then we said in this brisa that we were quoting, we said Oivra ala Seva Leisase, that he was it that the brisa? Yeah, that was the brisa. That was not the Mishnah. It says when he violates an asay and a leisase, and harehu kehedyet, he becomes like a regular person. It says leisagid leyavar. What do you mean? He violates. What are you telling me? That he has to violate an asay and a leisase? Is it not enough? It's not okay if he doesn't violate. So hachikamar. This is what it means. Im afar ala seva leisay. If he violated an asay, that means he neglected a positive mitzvah, or he violated a negative mitzvah. He's judged in a court of 3 judges, just like a regular common person. Where it says pshita, of course. Why would we need a special court? Let's say salkadai chamino. No. Since it was taught in the Mishnah, done in when you have these important things, you have a whole tribe. or a Navi Sheker, or a Kohen Gadol. When we said a tribe, what did we mean? We meant a Nasi, prince, right? We said that they have to be judged by a court of 71. So we should say the Kohen Gadol as well. Kohen Gadol as well. Al Pishim Mechat. Amar Avada Barava, Kol Davar Galivia Lechadvar Shel Gadol is referring to the leaders. They need a court of 71. Ema Kol Davar Shel Gadol. Maybe I would say that even if he does a negative prohibition or something, that we should judge him in a court of 71. Kamash Malan, no. Kamash Malan, that regular things like that are only judged in a court of 3. Maybe it should be 71. Miksiv Divrei Gadol, do we say the matters of a Gadol? Hadavar Hagadol Ksiv. Davar Gadol Mamish. It needs to be big things, which means capital punishments instead of a 23 would go to a 71. But other things that are not capital punishment would just go to a court of 3. He testifies and they testify against him. Mayid, he testifies. But Tanya, how should you summon him to court? It was one of the things with the Rebbe's case, was that the Rebbe did not have to testify in court. That was like one of the big deals, that they recognized that they the greatness of the Rebbe, and they said he doesn't have to come to court. Right?
Wow.
And the
Yeah,
Rebbe, and the Rebbitzin also.
They came to the house, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And as a matter of American Jewish jurisprudence, it's absurd to think that a Rebbe would lie.
oh, really? Interesting.
What's that?
They said, they put in there that Ferrari was challenged. They were challenging that the Rebbe fabricated that note, the famous smoking gun, that he is telling the truth, and said that's preposterous. In the case, like in the actual judgments, says that a Rebbe would lie.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a difference. Like common core, second core. Back to the consent.
Right. Okay.
Same story when the Friedeker Rebbe was naturalized, right? They passed a law
Just haven't come there.
so that they could come to him and he didn't have to go to the courthouse.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oh.
See, it helps to be a Rebbe.
That's
I
fine.
want to be a Rebbe.
Okay. Meid and I say, yeah, first you get taken to prison, Hillel says. So Meid, he testifies, but Tanya, we have a brisa that says Visalamta. It's talking about if someone finds a lost object, say that he doesn't, he says, and should you think that he should turn away from picking it up, it's like said in a rhetorical way. But we say, but literally it says, and he will turn away from it. The Gemara learns from this, the fact that it says it rhetorically, is that sometimes you actually should turn away. Sometimes you don't. Okay, said, how do you do this? Well, if he's a Kayan and he sees the lost object, it's in a cemetery, he turns away. Or if he's a sage, an elder, and it would be respectable. In other words, if he himself would lose that object, he himself wouldn't take it back for himself because it would be disrespectful for it, and for his own aunt. So therefore, he doesn't have to return it for someone else either. Or he wouldn't be making so much more money than what the object's worth. And if he would go get it, he would be losing that amount of money. He doesn't have to get it. That's why it says Visalamta. Now, what we're asking here is that if the honor comes into play, so then why do we ask the Kohen Gadol to testify? The Kohen Gadol, it's not honorable for him to go to court and start testifying that he saw someone. Rav Yosef says no, Meid Lamela, talking about that he's testifying about a king. That's already something on it. Not testifying about Shmerel that did this thing. No, it's about the king. He's testifying. Gemara says 1 second. You never testify against the king anyway. There goes that answer.
If they void that he's king, then you testify.
You take him off from being king. The Gemara says, Ella Amar Abzera made LeBen Melech. Talking about a prince, not a king. Prince. This Ben Melech had you too. Prince is just a common person. That would still be a disgrace for the Kohen Gadol to go testify just about a prince. Ella made B'fnei Melech. He's talking about he's testifying in front of the king. But he says, what's the king doing there? The king is supposed to be in the Sanhedrin. It says, Mishum Yukr, the Kohen Gadol, Asav Yasif. What happens is like this. He's testifying. This is, I think, what the Gemara means. You correct me if I'm wrong. He's testifying against the prince. That's the part that I'm adding in. The king is coming to the court because the Kohen Gadol is testifying. And it goes like this. Mishum Yukr, the Kohen Gadol, Asav Yasif. The king comes and sits there. Mekabli niale sadusa, and they accept the testimony of the Kohen Gadol. Koi, the king gets up. Koi hu va'azal, the king gets up and goes. Ma'in le'anan bedine, and the other judges they look into it and they do the judgment. So the king is only there while the Kohen Gadol is there, just while he's doing his testimony. Therefore, it's not a disgrace for the Kohen Gadol to be taken out and go somewhere where just commoners and testify about Shmerel. No, he's testifying about the prince, and the king is there. And yeah. Now, the only thing that I'm guessing here is the Gemara continuing to say that he's testifying? No, the Rashi says clearly, the other Basadusa Lebre. He knows testimony about the prince. Yeah, the Gemara didn't say that he's still testifying about the prince, but the Rashi says that he's still testifying about the prince. Okay, Gufa. Let's go back to analyze. What's the problem? King's not a witness. The Kohen Gadol is a witness. Right? King can't. A relative can't be a witness anyway, and or a judge, right? A relative can't be a judge. But here we're just bringing him there to be there when the Kohen Gadol is coming. Gufa, yeah. Gufa. Let's return to the text that we mentioned. Ein Meshiv Melech b'Sanhedrin. King doesn't go into the Sanhedrin. And we don't have a king and a Kohen Gadol sitting there to do the intercalculations to make the leap year. Melech b'Sanhedrin. How do you know you don't put the king in the Sanhedrin? The Ksiv Leisan el Riv, Leisan el Rav. It says over there that he doesn't answer to a quarrel, and what that means is Leisan el Rav, that you don't respond against a great person, which means that you won't be able to answer, you won't be able to say your opinion if the king is in the Sanhedrin, because you're never allowed to contradict the king. A possible solution to that would be if the king doesn't speak first, the king would speak last, but then possibly you may have to change your opinion, because you still, you could get everyone else to talk. The head of the Sanhedrin anyways always talks last. But maybe one possibility is maybe a king should not be speaking last. King should be speaking first. And then no one else would be able to say their opinion. Maybe that's why it doesn't work. The Gemara is saying it's not going to work. The king is in the Sanhedrin.
What happens if the head of the Sanhedrin speaks last?
Right.
Right, but this, like the shot the other person gave before him, they take the complete opposite. Then it will look like really bad.
No, it doesn't look bad. You don't have to agree with the head of the Sanhedrin, but you can't disagree with him. So but that's why you speak first. I said my opinion before he spoke. After he speaks, it would be disrespectful. So he speaks last. Yeah. Now it says Melech v'Kohen Gadol b'Shana, that they can't sit in this judgment to make the intercalculations. The Melech v'Kohen Gadol Melech mishum afsanya or afsnia, because there's a certain salary that he gives.
Says it's the end of the year.
At the end of the year, he would really like to get the extra month in. He would like to make a leap year. He'll have to pay his soldiers. He only pays them for the year, so he would just divide it up by the month. But anyway, the salaries would be less if there would be a leap year. They would get their right. There would be 1 month would be paid for. Now in the Kohen Gadol Mishum Tzina, very interesting. The Kohen Gadol, if he's going to make a leap year, then it's going to be cold in the mikveh. It's going to have a November Yom Kippur, and when he goes into the mikveh 5 times on Yom Kippur, it's going to be cold. Taisa says that's not a problem. They had a heater. They took a hot metal plate, they threw it in there, they heated the water. This Taisa says it's talking about the cold floor that he had to do service the whole day. Yeah, it's a little surprise. There's I saw in the Gemara that I have at home that has some commentary in it. Lublin, the Lublin Shas. So they quote the Chazon Ish that asks, is that what our leaders are? They're going to change the halacha because the floors are cold. That's it. So he says that no. He says we're not concerned that they're actually going to change. There's just a gzeres hakasav that whenever there's any bias, we don't have a judge. Even if we're not concerned that that's really what they're going to do. That's the rule. It's not a concern. It's not like the Gemara is concerned about this. It's just the rule that you don't do that. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Amar Rav Papa says, Shema mina shata basa yarcha asal. I don't really understand this Gemara. I'll tell you what it means, and you'll tell me about how you understand it. It says the year follows the months, which means that the last what it's supposed to be, the seasons, the coldness follows what it's supposed to be. In other words, when you add in the leap year, it doesn't change the season. You're still going to have Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is going to have a Cheshvan cold, even though it's in Tishrei, because what it's supposed to be was Cheshvan. You added another month, so it turns out that, but it goes after the months of what it should have been if it wasn't a leap year. Okay, Eini is so. There were 3 shepherds that were sitting there and talking. It's like the jokes with the Indians, you know. What's the weather? You know, Yossi Jacobson's joke. So Chadam, one of them says, "Im bechir balakish kechada inetz." If the early crop and the later crop, which means the wheat and the barley, are budding, are sprouting at the same time, then it's ada. And another one said, "V'chadamar v'imlav," and if not less than ada, then it's not ada. It's only Shvat. It's too early. Chadamar, one of them says, "Im tor b'tzfar b'teleg yamos." If an ox in the morning in the snow dies, ubetira, and in the afternoon, betul te'ena yidmuch. It's this is hard Aramaic. It's in the shade of a fig tree. It sleeps. Yishalach mashche, and it's throwing off its skin because it's too hot. Like it's scratching its skin when it's hot, and like it gets itchy. No, it's in the shade because it's too hot. In the morning it dies because of they're dying because of the cold. In the afternoon it's so hot. It says Dein hu Adar, that's Adar, because it's like in between the seasons. It's cold in the morning, but in the afternoon it's too hot. So you take off your sweater. Im lav less Dein Adar, if not, it's not Adar. Chadam, and another shepherd says, Im kidum takif lachada. If the east wind is very strong, Yehei yifach beluach nafik l'kiblei, and when you blow your breath, it goes out and overpowers it. So in other words, the heat of your breath can overpower the cold wind. So dein hu adar v'imlav less dein adar, it's not adar. V'avdu rabban lu shata, and the rabbis adjusted the calendar because of that year, because of what they said. So which means, what's the question? Apparently it doesn't get affected by the weather. We're saying that the weather goes like the old one. I'm not sure exactly what this means.
That the rabbis would take into consideration the season in order for the crops to be ready for certain festivals.
Good question.
So I'm not sure why.
Another question Hill is asking. He said before that they would consider the seasons. The Gemara says, "V'tizra banana arav sasamech." Do you think that the rabbis are relying on the shepherds? They had their own calculations. They just have some sort of support for this. Yeah, and then also you see this is like anecdotal things that are not really the main thing, but that was part of it. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the question was. We stop here.
Yeah.
Okay. We're a page behind. Okay, figure it out. Tomorrow's a big day. They have to try to finish it with Sundays and Mondays tomorrow. Whoa. Okay, get ready.
Are they long pages?
Get ready. We'll try to start on time. We'll try to start on time. Yeah, we're in for a new semester.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too. Oh, wow.